back to Between the Ribs with Jonathan Morris on Florida Man Radio.
I want to talk about freedom of press and how far that goes, right, on freedoms. But first, I wanted to finish up on, and I listen, I'm not judging or making fun of Americans, but we are the most wasteful sun guns on the planet.
It's true.
We really are. From vegetables to animals, we waste so much. So people call me like, hey, I want a half cow or a whole cow. And I tell them the only honest way to do that is hanging weight. Because everybody wants their animal broke down different, depending on how they eat and how their family eats. So I can't guarantee you what you're going to put in your freezer. I can give you a good idea, but your freezer weight may be different from another person's freezer weight. Some people want everything bone in. They want all their roast. They want all their bones. They want their fat. They want their organs. They want everything. All right? There's still about 30%, 35% of a cow you just cannot eat structurally. You've seen the videos. You've seen me break them down. Heather, you've seen my barrel. And people are like, oh, can't you save that? No, it's really not good for nothing. Unless we had a big old machine to like cook it all down and turn it into a goo and add it to a dog food or something. There's really nothing you can do to it. You know, it's just waste. But a lot of people are like, well, I don't like bones. And I only like my ribeyes. And I want my fillets separated from my New York strip. So I really don't want a T-bone in a porterhouse. I want a boneless New York strip and a boneless fillet. And I want a boneless ribeye. And I don't eat bottom round and rump roast, so I want that in my hamburger. So there's a lot of waste, right? And when you're doing primals and you're breaking down a cow, as you trim out, for instance, the fillet, you can only get so much off the bone, and then you have leftover meat. Well, I cut for this family from India, right? And I had to educate myself because I didn't realize there's some India type people that are like my buddy Gary. Who are they? What's their names? They're the ones that don't eat cows. They're Hindu.
Hindu, okay.
And then there's some who are not. They're like either Muslim or another religion or whatever, and they do eat cows. So it's weird. But anyway, this was an Indian family, and they eat meat. We'll just leave it like that. They eat cows. So when they ordered a cow, and I was like, all right, how do you want me to break that down? I'm going to go with my cutting list. And they're like, I don't understand. I was like, the cutting list. How do you want your cow cut? I just want it cut 2 by 2, 2 by 2. And I was like, all right.
Gallon-sized freezer bags.
Right. I was like, so you want your steaks 2 inches? They're like, no steak, beef. I want beef. And I was like, okay, but I need to understand, like, do you want your ribeyes? You want your T-bones, your porterhouses? They're like, no, beef. Just want beef. I just want beef. So finally I understood they wanted it cut kind of like curry style or whatever. And they just wanted it all in like 2 by 2 sections. So you literally take that cow, cut it in half, cut it in a quarter, the leg off of it, and you just run it through the saw, and you cut it down into 2 by 2 pieces.
What about the bone?
Leave it in there.
Oh, okay.
They don't debone nothing.
Okay.
All right? And then they cook it, and they eat the meat off the bone, and they cook it till the meat falls off the bone, and they use the bones, and they make stew, and then they make all kinds of stuff. But if a cow weighs 550 pounds, they're putting like 480 pounds in their freezer, right?
Wow.
Because there's just nothing going in the waste barrel.
Right.
But then you have a normal white American or black American, right? Or Spanish American, like American, right? Americanized. And they're like, well, I'd like my ribeyes and I'd like them boneless and I'd like my filet and I want my chuck eye, but then you can take the chuck off. Like they want everything broken down like you see in a Winn-Dixie or a Publix or a Whole Foods, like a normal American-sized traditional meat. And then their cow weighs 550 pounds and they only get 300 back. And they're like, well, what happened to the other 250 pounds? I was like, well, you didn't want it. You told me to trim it and to do this and to cut this bone out and to get rid of that. And you told me you don't eat the leg and you don't eat the soup bone part and you don't eat this part and you don't eat that part. So I deboned the best I could, and then I ground it and I put it into your hamburger, but there's a lot less weight in ground hamburger than there is in bone-in product.
Right.
So you have to explain that to people. And then I start thinking about, like, you look at our hunger situation and the people that are in poverty, the people that are starving, and you look at grocery store prices. And I do admit it would be a complete alt turn of society for people to learn how to relearn how to eat properly.
Oh, yeah. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody wants to do that.
Do you know how farther your money would go if you're like, yeah, just cut the cow up and just send me the cow, and I'm going to cook it and eat it, and I'll pick through the bones and I'll debone and I'll do all that stuff in my dishes. But people are like, well, I don't want my son. What if my son chokes on a bone? Or what if, just excuse after excuse after excuse, because we have been conditioned to eat a certain way.
How do you choke on a cow bone? You don't choke on a cow bone. Maybe
No.
a splinter, but like it's not a chicken bone. You're not gonna like not feel the bone.
Right. And well, the other thing is, as you're eating your dish, once you've learned to eat those kind of dishes, you know there's bone in there. So when you pick up the meat, you don't just wolf it down like you would a boneless
Swallow
fillet.
it whole, no chewing.
Right. You suck the meat off and you get the. But here's the other thing. Listen. This is one of the reasons why they're healthier than us and they're not as obese as us and they don't have as many problems as we have with diabetes and cancer and all that other stuff. Because as you're sucking that bone, you're getting all the bone marrow. You're getting all the gel and the stuff around the bone. No, all the good stuff that is in an animal we throw away, and other cultures eat it and they live longer than us. They're slimmer than us. They're healthier than us.
I mean, 90 years is fine with me.
90. I think America's like 74 right now.
Well, in my family, everyone lived to be like 100. So
Yeah, we got good genes too. My mom and dad are. They got
120.
Well, my
what? Do you think your mom wants you telling that on the radio?
My dad's 79, my mom's 75, but they got a long way to go. My great grandma died at 103, and Amy's grandma was like 97 or 98 or something.
That's right.
We get her year wrong. At one point, we thought she was 105. They were like, no, she's 96. I think she's 97 or 98 now. So anyways, we got good genes. But I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm not judging people. I'm not saying anything weird. I like a ribeye. I like a boneless filet. I mean, okay, that's just the way we eat. But, and I know everybody's like, hey, we don't have nothing to worry about anymore. Trump's coming back to office and the economy's going to be fine.
He's not a butcher.
But, right? But we have a cycle of politics in America. We're not going to always have Republicans in the office who are going to make the economy good, bring gas prices down, energy down, make things affordable again. So we find yourself in these situations where it's like, man, I just can't afford a ribeye no more. Okay, but can you afford the front shoulder of a cow? And then you got your brisket, your chuck, and your ribeye on that front quarter. So then you just let your butcher cut it up, and you have plenty of meat to eat. And instead of having, so on the front quarter, instead of having 8 ribeyes, right? You get 140 pounds of meat. Instead of 8 ribeyes, you cut it up and you have your brisket, your chuck, but everything's cut up together. So every time you eat, you have ribeye in your meal, you have chuck roast in your meal, you have brisket in your meal, you have all that fat, all those different muscles, all those different enzymes. And it just plays out better for you. But you have to change your mindset. You don't fire up the old grill or the green egg. They don't got green eggs in India. They got pots and they cook over, you know what I mean? So you're not going to be able to fire up your green egg and just grill a steak. But
I bet there's a green egg in India
you think so?
somewhere.
And is
Yeah.
Dubai in India? Where's Dubai at?
It's India.
All right, then they got them. Dubai's pretty advanced. But let me know this. Riddle me this. Riddle me that.
They're not. It's not a third world nation. In India, no, they got big cities. They got everything.
I know they do, but they're not like, hey, we're gonna fire up a grill and cook a ribeye tonight.
I bet there are some.
More than not, or more people cooking in pots
No, I don't know.
and making soups and stews. Why don't you Google that or Google that? You're Let me. Okay, so we're not really press. We just talk, but we share stories.
Commentary.
We're commentary. All right, we share stories.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the new bipartisan press act that they're putting up in the House? And this would have an effect on us and other people. So there's a lady, Catherine Herridge. She's asking for a sit down with President-elect Trump.
Oh, you can just do that. That's cool.
Right? Like, I request a sit down because they want to send me to jail, and I don't think I should go to jail.
Our mobile studio to you, Trump. We
Yeah.
request a sit down.
Yeah, what kind of producer are you? Request a sit down with Donald Trump for me.
I have been behind. Sorry.
We're in Florida. He's in Florida. We'll
let's
drive
do
over to
it.
Mar-a-Lago, and we'll sit down. I wonder if he'd have us. Call. Can you email at least?
Sure.
All they can say is no.
Right.
Just be like, hey, listen, Between the Ribs, little farm show, blah, blah, blah. Tell them who we are and say we would love an opportunity to talk to you. We know that we obviously will get more out of it than you will. We're basically,
Could you imagine if Trump was like, hey, everybody, buy more organic meats?
That'd be awesome. That'd be great. Let's do it. Line it up.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
See if you can get us a sit down.
Okay.
So this lady is probably going to go to jail Former Fox and CBS reporter faces a fine, jail time for protecting her sources. And this is something I do have a problem with, and I really want obviously the show won't be on YouTube until later because our ban doesn't expire until tomorrow. But when you have an opportunity to comment on this, text me, email me. Oh, email. Yeah, there you go. Email betweentheribs10@gmail. Betweentheribs10@gmail. Let me know what you think about this, because I really want to know. At what point, at what line in the sand do we hold entertainers, I call them, because they're not really journalists anymore, accountable for what they say? So like the other night on Cuomo, they had a guy on, a senator, a Democrat senator from somewhere, and he was throwing all this stuff at Cuomo and the Smith guy, the ex-football player that's on there now. I don't know if you've seen him. Anyway, they got an ex-football player that's now on News Nation. He talks very good. He's pretty smart, so I think it's pretty cool. But he'll admit, like, I'm new to this. I ain't got no idea what we're talking about. But these are my questions from a normal person. So I think it's pretty cool. Okay. Also, I want to apply for News Nation.
Apply?
Yeah.
To do what? To
like go on. Like they had me on as a expert analysis guy.
How are the farms doing in Lake Mary?
Listen, all they can say is no. They can't eat us. They can just say no. All right. So he was throwing out all these facts and figures, and he was, of course, why the Democrats lost and why the Democrats are fine and they don't need a revamping, and Trump won because of this, and Trump won because of this. And then Cuomo stopped and said, all right, where are you getting this information from? And the guy goes, well, my inside sources. And he's like, well, can you share them with us? And the guy's like, no, they're my sources. And then Cuomo was like, so you want us just to take your word for it? And the guy's like, no, I can back this up. And Cuomo's like, but you really can't, because you won't tell us who your sources are.
He'd have to prove whatever he was trying to back up.
Right. So how many times have we heard stories, and I'll throw Fox in there, from Fox to CBS to NBC to CNN to MSNBC, and they throw this information at us, but they don't give us who, where, what, why. They take a 2-hour speech of Donald Trump or of Harris or whoever, and they edit it down to 40 seconds, and they play it and be like, look what she just said, or look what he just said, right? There's no context, there's no content, there's no backstory, there's no, Bill so-and-so told me this on this day, and that's how we know it. Now, the journalists are saying this violates the Free Press Act, right? Because it's the Free Press Act is supposed to protect journalists and their sources. Now, Trump is urging the Republican senators to oppose this bill because he's saying that this bill has been used and abused, and it's why we have so much fake news and fake stories out there.
But we'd have... it's hard because you'd have to fact check everything, and nobody's going to be able to do that. You're not going to have two people on both sides fact checking. I think that's a lot to try to police.
Yeah, and it may not be something that can be policed. But at what end do we have these people that get paid millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever they get paid, to go on there and talk to us as reporters and journalists, but we can't? All we know is they said it, so it must be true. What if they're just blowing it out their butt? They're just making it up.
Then they should be fired.
But how can you fire? How can you prove it?
No.
And I'm all for free speech. I'm all for free press. I am.
Right.
But when you can prove from a money chain, paper trail, that a certain network is getting 90% of its profit margin, operating capital from Warren Buffett, or from a PAC that is owned by a bunch of Democrats, how are they giving us free press? And on the same side, if it's a PAC coming out of the Republican Party or from Elon Musk, how can we guarantee that they're telling us the truth and not just what that side wants us to hear?
I think that's the problem all the way around.
So how do you fix it?
I don't know.
They say this new act, if it's passed, or I guess if it's opposed and it doesn't go through, from now on, journalists will be forced to name their sources.
Well, then the sources will quit coming through and we'll have more misinformation.
So no matter what, this is a bad deal.
I think it is, yes.
All right. Let us know. BetweenTheRibs10@gmail. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You look close, you'll see America. She don't look quite like she did.